And when you look at the teams, I think nobody was surprised the way it went, Glenn. I mean, Leicester are clearly a superior team to Arsenal.
I certainly thought Leicester would win the game, and I think a lot of other people did. The difference is, I think some of the Arsenal players might have thought that as well, unfortunately. But looking at the system, he went in with a 3, which ends up a 5, and that's why he actually went in and played the 2 strikers really wide, Don, didn't he?
He
played like that to stop the fullbacks, Ricardo and Chilwell, getting forward. And Ozil had to look after the 2 centre-backs coming through. That system's OK because you stop the fullbacks when they go into a 5, because Bellerin comes in there because you stop the fullbacks when they go into a 5, because Bellerin comes in there, Suniak comes back there. They end up like a 5, and you've got a problem with fullbacks coming spare. OK, they've done that, but do you really want Aubameyang and Lacazette out there for most of the game, having to track back wing-backs and full-backs? So at the end of the day, they get outnumbered as well with just 2 in midfield.
That's the problem, isn't it?
You've got 3 versus 2.
That's the problem. When you look at Guendouzi and you look at Torreira and get around the pitch, all of a sudden you think when Maddison's there, Tielemans is there, Ozil further up the pitch, and Ndidi doing his bit in there, it's difficult for those 2 to contain the 3.
It's almost... Don, what you gain on the swings, you lose on the roundabouts. And that's football. Every system you'll have an Achilles heel. But for me, you make one side, one fullback, the least attacking maybe, the one that you know is going to come out, and then you work your midfield across to deal with that. One striker can go out there and stop the left back, say. So you know the right back is going to be spare. But to have him playing like a fullback at times is ridiculous. Because he's such a threat, and that you want him up there. And then you want Ozil in that midfield just breaking with him.
It felt like Arsenal were going for a 0-0 in that way. So they were hanging on for a draw. Vardy, I think it's 9 in 9 against Arsenal. Of course, we tried to buy him once. He's absolute renaissance under Brendan Rodgers. So this is a great goal. Lovely one.
I mean, there's a lack of closing down when you look at the Arsenal players standing there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and you see this big sort of this big gap, or you know, when you look into there and you think, look at all that space in there. Let me just get that one there. All that space in there for that ball to be played in. I mean, it's huge.
No one picking up Maddison.
No one picking up. Great goal from Leicester's point of view. Good little finish, because that's not easy. Just took a little bobble just in front of Jamie Vardy. But Wes Morgan was in here a couple of weeks back, Morgan. Do you remember what he was saying about Jamie Vardy? He said he's a freak of nature, isn't he? He said he's not one of these that puts nice food inside of his system, eats a lot of rubbish. He said, but before the game, a little coffee and a little something else, Red Bull. And he went, he's absolutely flying on a match day, and he's got so much energy. He's in the form of his life.
I think the fact that he's given up the international football as well
definitely
helped him with the travelling and training, and he has that rest period. But I think Leicester are playing towards him as well. Puel, it was too slow for him, the possession. But there's a mixture now. They play through the pitch slowly. They got possession, Leicester, but they're willing to put balls in behind.
Bizarre how you'd ask Jamie Vardy to come short and link the play.
You wouldn't.
And you know his strength is one of the channels.
But he's getting a bit of that now. He knows a little bit of possession there, but he's getting balls in behind as well.
And then...
And this is just underlines once more how good their recruitment has been. I mean, everybody you look at in this team, you think, what clever recruitment, a good price. And Maddison's been fantastic.
Well, another player, you know, Ndidi, the lost N'Golo Kante, one of the best whole midfield players in world football. Ndidi's went into that position and played really well. And you're right, I mean, they're passing the ball well. The more the game went on, I mean, this is a good strike. Goalkeeper's a little bit unlucky. Bellerin, you see, once the strike goes through a defender's legs.
I think that's brilliant, because I think he knows he's going to...
Do you think he meant that?
He's gone through it, I think he's kept it low, but he's gone, I know what's going to happen. You're going to try and block it, which most defenders do. To block it, you're going to have to, you know, try and stop it with one at least. He's gone through for the nutmeg shot.
Let's have a look at Arsenal being poor. I mean, they weren't great in passing the ball. The link-up play wasn't great. I mean, when you're confident, Glenn, and you play this ball into that little channel there, there's a ball to be played there. When you're confident, that's the right ball to play. When you're not confident, you take that extra touch, and by that time, we're players, we're animals, Mark. Like we play off the cuff and we play with instinct when you're flying, and when you're not, you take that extra touch. You try to be
thinking about it.
Yeah, you try to be safe.
I think what happens, you don't see the picture. When you're playing really on top of your game and the confidence is there, you've got a radar. And but
when you see something,
ball is simple. It's an easy ball.
But when you see something with your peripheral, you go bang.
Yeah, you just play it.
When you're got no confidence, you sort of see it and you go, no, what I'll do is I'll just go a little bit safe.
Hesitate.
That's not how we play.
Just want to show everybody a comparison between what Leicester have done since Brendan Rodgers arrived and Arsenal. And it's interesting, of course, because Brendan Rodgers was in the discussion for Arsenal after Arsene Wenger left, but of course they went for Unai Emery. And look what's happened since March the 3rd. Leicester beaten Arsenal twice in that time because they beat them at the end of last season. Of course, a really devastating game for Arsenal when it was coming to the Champions League place. Glenn, how much trouble do you think Unai Emery is in at the moment?
I think he's in deep trouble. I really do. Because I think Arsenal fans and everyone in football can see, I don't know where their next result's coming from. Yes, of course, they've got exciting players going forward, and some of them are being asked to play, particularly at the weekend there, in a strange position. Your two strikers, one of them maybe, but not two of them. And they're going to leak goals. They're just not good enough defensively. I'm sorry, but last year they weren't good enough. No. You expected them to go and improve on that back three, back four, whatever they want to play. I think it's probably deteriorated. It's gone backwards. So you're always going to score against them, and I think he's in deep trouble. Unless he gets on that training ground and puts it right with them players, or in January buys new players in, I think he could be in trouble, yeah.
International break now, of course. We won't have all those players. No. Chris, what about that? I mean, Vardy's goal was on 68 minutes, but really, Leicester should have had a penalty very early on here.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one that's escaped the VAR and the on-field refereeing team. I mean, when I saw this in real time, I thought, I need to... He hasn't. There's a clear pull. I know his arm's in the air, but he doesn't throw himself to the ground. He actually goes to ground the way he's been pulled. And for me, that is a penalty. That's clearly wrong, and I think that should have been detected.
Any reason why they didn't spot that?
I don't know the answer to that.
See, look, he gave a foul there against Ozil for actually a much smaller tug.
Well, Glenn and I were saying we don't really think that's much of a foul.
So what was that question, isn't it? What's the difference between outside the box and inside the box?
Yeah. Realistically, there should be no difference, but I was really surprised when that first one wasn't given.
Really surprised that VAR doesn't look at that carefully.
Yeah, I think that's a classic example is why we're bringing VAR in. Yeah. That should actually be seen. If the ref can't see it or the assistant can't see it for whatever reason, that is where it goes. Hey, you need to look at this. And the ref...
Difference between outside the box and inside the box.
Yeah. Realistically, there should be no difference, but I was really surprised when that first one wasn't given.
Really surprised that VAR doesn't look at that carefully.
Yeah, I think that's a classic example is why we're bringing VAR in. Yeah. That should actually be seen. If the ref can't see it or the assistant can't see it for whatever reason, that is where it goes. Hey, you need to look at this. And the ref goes over and has a look himself. Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
That's exactly right. It's when you get that situation that you haven't seen and the referee clearly hasn't, the advice would be, have a look. If he goes to the screen, he'll see that clearly, restart play, it's a penalty, and everybody gets it.
Should we have a look at the table before we go to the break? Because, of course, Leicester up into second now. We're going to see Chelsea in a second. You can see there's already a big gap between Arsenal and Sheffield United and the top four. So for Unai Emery, whose job it was this season simply to get Arsenal back into the top four, that's why at the moment, as Glenn says, he's in trouble.
I don't think they make it, Mark. I look at Arsenal and Man United, I don't think they make the top four. And that's why Unai Emery was brought in. He hasn't really changed anything since Arsene Wenger left. We all know Arsenal's deficiencies over the years. Buy a really strong holding midfield player, have good defenders. They're asking Socrates, who I've seen play for Dortmund many a time, who's a very, very good centre-half, but he's not a ball-playing centre-half. And they're trying to play it from the back, and you can see what he's trying to do, but they haven't got the personnel to play that way.
Yeah. OK. Important win for Manchester United. Just wondering, talking about Marcus Rashford, who got the third goal there, Glenn, does he rather sum up Manchester United? When he's good, they're really good, and they can take on anybody, but there's just a level of disgust Arsenal what's going on with Unai Emery. Tottenham, massive fall-off. United are edging their way back up, but you're still not really sure where this whole story is going to end with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Are they really going to make a late bid and gate crash the top four? Are they really going to be that consistent?
It's because, well, exactly that. It's because they are inconsistent. It's because you're never quite sure whether it's going to be a Man United side that'll beat Brighton or a Man United side that'll lose against Bournemouth. Yeah. And when Martial plays well, terrific talent. When Rashford plays well, terrific talent. 10's his best number last season. So if he is going to be, or he is going to convince everyone that he's a player that can get goals either through the middle off the left-hand side, he's got to be closer to 15 to 20. 20 more so if you're playing down the middle. You'd excuse him playing off the left-hand side. He's going to get a few less. But he's still got loads of talent. Maybe his argument is he's playing in an indifferent Man United side where the quality and the service is not quite there. But I think there's a talent, but he needs to do a little bit more.
Yeah. Do you see them giving the top four a really good go?
I don't, no.
No?
I think there's too many average players in there for the time being. I really do. I don't see a real out-and-out goal scorer. I don't see a midfield player that's going to get you 12 to 15 goals, and I see them giving goals away. The keeper there, De Gea, That ball comes in from a corner, simple corner. You've got to be stronger than that. You know, there's a player in there, get rid of him, you know, come across the top, punch it. I see him leaking goals as well. So that's a formula for a team that's going to be very inconsistent.
Yeah, there's 9-point gap. We talked about 9 points with City and Liverpool. There's 9 points from, as you can see, from Manchester United to the top four, which is Manchester City.